Streaming live via the internet, welcome to ISP Radio, your weekly source for ISP-related news, events, and interviews with industry experts. If you deliver internet via fiber optic, fixed wireless, coax, or any other way, you're in the right place. And now a brief word from our sponsors. Link Technologies Incorporated provides the lowest priced Microtech products in North America, as well as Wade Towers, Mimosa, Cambium, Ubiquity, Nettonics, and a host of other products and services to be your one-stop shop for your ISP needs. Visit www.linktechs.net. That's LINKTECHS.net for more information. TowerCoverage.com, providing online RF coverage maps with website integration. Stop rolling your trucks for every site survey and start doing installations. Visit www.towercoverage.com now. And now we'd like to present our hosts, Steve Grabiel and Dennis Burgess.
Welcome to another edition of ISP Radio. I'm your host, Steve Grabiel, broadcasting my part of the show from Moriarty, New Mexico in my office, and Dennis Burgess is producing and broadcasting from St. Louis. Dennis, you there?
Yep, I am here.
So it's dried up here finally. Had a major lightning storm that woke me up Saturday morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, looked out, and there was just lightning everywhere. And fortunately, only got hit by one client took a hit, so we were fortunate in that, but now we're in the free and the clear. How's it out there in St. Louis?
Oh, we're doing pretty good. We had a whole bunch of that remnants of that hurricane that came up. I don't know which one it was, came up through the Gulf, and they sat there and said, we're going to have 8 inches of rain, and it's going to be miserable. Our Jefferson County area was going to be called the Isle of Jeffco because all the interstates were going to flood and all that kind of good stuff. And they said it was going to come in on Tuesday evening or Tuesday afternoon and into evening, and that went by. And then Wednesday went by, and then Thursday went by. And then finally, Friday, we finally got some rain. And I think we got maybe 2 inches of rain total between Friday evening and Saturday, and that was about it. So,
yeah.
They're kind of off there, if that makes sense.
Well, I hope the hurricane that's hitting the Carolinas isn't going to be as bad as they predict.
I would you don't know. Mm-hmm. That's one of those things that you kind of have to take and understand and watch. And I would always sit there and be, if I'm in the line, I'd be watching it. But otherwise, it's like when we were discussing earlier, people in Florida, they're like, yeah, that's 3 hours north of us, huh? We don't even care about it. But you know how that kind of stuff works. So
right. So is there any news out there in the industry? I filed my 477s like I was supposed to a couple days before.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I mean, they I believe there was a release of the FCC Form 477 data from the FCC. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that did happen. We've been real busy with people that's been wanting to get Form 477 filed, etc. And so far, it's all been working really good. So, it's good that you got that completed because, of course, that's very important. But then again, for those of you that did not file it, you definitely need to do that. So very, very important.
Yeah.
Yep.
I went to, on Saturday, a broadband summit hosted by a local county commissioner, and it was very interesting. I was on a panel with AT&T and CenturyLink here in New Mexico, and it was kind of a bashing of CenturyLink, unfortunately. And I don't see why people bash them for what they are. They're doing the best they can. I mean, the technicians out in the field are good. I can imagine corporates doesn't look at the rural America like they do the urban areas. But that was very interesting and eye-opening. Well, it was challenges to broadband in the East Mountains here, and I threw out there, a big part of it is customer education, and boy, I got hammered on that by a up-and-coming wannabe Public Regulation Commission that asked me about what I thought about municipal Wi-Fi. The other two panelists said, no, it does not work, and I was shaking my head, and he came up and asked me too after I didn't answer the question to the panel. But I talked to him afterwards, and he goes, "What do you think of municipal Wi-Fi?" I go, "It doesn't work. Government's 9 to 5. ISP is 24/7."
There you go. Yeah.
But anyways, he's a young attorney trying to become a public regulation commissioner in the state of New Mexico, and
well,
he's cut his teeth with the FCC and DC, so I think he knows it all. But anyways, that was an interesting thing.
We get a lot of providers that a lot of people that they, to be honest with you, what they see the Wi-Fi as is, hey, if I can get this money from the government, then I can build this Wi-Fi network. It can be a municipal Wi-Fi network. We can partner with the local municipality, all that kind of good stuff, and we're going to get millions upon millions of dollars in aid and stuff like that, and I'm going to basically put most of that in my pocket, and then whenever it doesn't work, or they start building out fiber, and again there's no takers on the fiber, guess what? They're basically stuck, and then they file bankruptcy. They're all good because they've taken a salary, or they've taken a really good salary for 5 years or something like that. So we've been down that road several times before, and such. So it doesn't work, but people still want to try it because they can get their money to make it work for them anyway.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's just like building what's on top of everything already, and that's part of why we do the 477, keep that from happening.
Exactly.
Well, anyways, Dennis, this show today is the precursor to WISPAPALOOZA 2018, show we all look forward to going to. And on the show today, we've got Nathan Stooks. He's the agenda guru on that committee, and we talked to him a little bit earlier about earlier show, and he mentioned a little bit about it. And then we got Trina Coffey, the executive director of WISPA. Is that correct, Trina, or did I blow that?
Well, Nathan is the agenda committee co-chair, so am I. But Nathan is also our current chairman of the board, and I'm the vice president of events and operations.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, congratulations, Nathan.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's talk about the show.
So we are at the Rio, like we have been for the past few years. We'll be there one more year after this, and then we'll be changing locations. Registration is really brisk at this point. We're actually pacing at a higher rate than we have in the past. So I think Nathan will be able to stand up there and say we're going to break another record, which always makes him very happy.
Absolutely.
So that'll be good. We've got a great agenda, as we always do, lined up for you guys. And we have a lot of new exhibitors. So I think everything's rolling along at a really great pace. Just a reminder to everyone, the room block does go away come Saturday morning. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, if you want to get technical. So if you have not booked your room at this point, you should. Please remember that is the one and only thing with WISPAPALOOZA that is completely refundable. The airline's not going to give you your money back, and conference tickets are not refundable because we make decisions based on levels of registration. But 72 hours out, you can always cancel your room. So please make sure that you get your room secured, even if you're still on the fence about going. Rooms are getting pretty tight. I'm actually looking right now, if you're wondering why I'm not looking at the camera, to see where we're at on our room block. Rooms are getting pretty tight. I'm trying to shuffle around some room nights on the nights that we're pretty much out of space. But I'm managing it like I always do on the back end. But again, if you're on the fence, you should probably book your room now as opposed to waiting.
That's very, very important because, we contract with the hotel, and if you don't have a room, then guess what? You're going to have to go someplace else. And again, then you're not going to have all the time that you need at the show, because we actually have so many vendors now at the show that based on the vendor time. I think you have like 10 minutes per vendor or something like that.
If you're lucky.
If you want to see everybody. So I would definitely use the WISPA's website. So you can go to WISPA.org and view the exhibitors, where they're going to be at. Make a plan beforehand, before you actually get there. Make a plan so that you know which vendors you wish to talk to and why. And that way, whenever you are in your vendor time, go to the vendor, ask the question you need, because that's very, very important to get done.
In relation to that, Dennis, there has been some discussion on the web, on the mailing list, on all of those points of the attendee list not being on the website, and people not being able to make plans because they can't see the attendee list. So for years, we have had the attendee list up on the site, and we have tried to let everyone know who's going to be there and all of that. We have chosen to take the attendee list down because in the planner world, like, one of the hot button issues right now is, these false calls you get saying that they're a rooming coordinator or a housing company or whatever for our show. Just so everyone knows, WISPA does not use any third-party entity to book our rooms ever. I give you a link. That is the room block. Many times, if you fall victim to these people, you will have outrageous charges on your credit card, and when you get to Vegas, you won't have a room. So part of the reason the attendee list is no longer on the webpage is so that information cannot be mined. We all know in the days of Facebook and LinkedIn and, Instagram and everything else, there's about 1,000 places for people to get our email address, right? And then they email you and you fall victim to it. So we've chosen to not put that up there. In response to that, Nathan and I have decided to make the commitment to try to have the Groupio app ready with everyone who has registered to that point. Now, please be aware that people register, sometimes every 30 seconds, depending on the level of activity that day. Right. So with everyone that is registered to that point, 2 weeks out, I'm going to have my staff put the link on Facebook and on the website to go ahead and download the app so you can search for it and start connecting with people and seeing who's going to be there through the app. That is the only secure place we can list the attendees. Now, yes, a housing company could go get the app and try to get people that way, but it's more secure.
Trina, I'll jump in there real quick on that. So we'll have it under the secure login for the app. So everyone will get an email address. If you register for the show, you'll get an email address with your password on it. So it will be secured at least as much as we can make it. If you don't want to download the Groupio app, that's okay. In that email, there's a link to the website where you'll be able to log into that website and download the agenda or see who's there and what contact information. So it's always been available in Groupio. A lot of people used it. Some people didn't. But since we had to take it down from the website, we put it up there. And do you take it down? Do you not take it down? I mean, it wasn't a decision taken lightly, but given all the reports we had for some of those scams, we thought it was best just to take it down. We have another avenue, another way to provide it to people, and we'll get that updated. And everybody will get those emails when it goes live. You'll get that email so you can start coordinating with all the people you want to meet with at WISPAPALOOZA, because that's really what these shows are about. I love the agenda. We have over 70 different sessions going on now at the show. We're going to have a record number of speakers. We have new moderators, new people, but a lot of it has to do with the people you meet and who you run into there. And that's why we do the things like speed dating. That's why we want to try to facilitate those discussions you have, because you can learn from your peers. We're an industry that just really likes to help each other, and I encourage everyone to talk openly about things, and providing that attendee list is something that'll help. So we'll make sure that's in Groupio a little bit earlier than we normally do, and we'll get that updated for everybody, and that email will go out. And it'll come from myself, so you just watch for an email from me. It'll have Groupio in the subject.
What? So you guys have changed. We've changed formats, going to the week-long thing in the middle of the week, and that was what we started that last year.
Yes. Yep.
What's been the feedback for you guys on that change? Was it people upset, or was it, did it make more sense? To me, it was more logical.
Yeah. I'll talk about the agenda side, and I'll let Trina talk about the travel side and the booking and everything. But the agenda side, what I thought was so cool was that first Master Monday, right? This is what people have been asking for. They say, I want a deeper dive. I love coming to the shows, but I want to learn more about different topics. So we picked Master Monday. It's got 3-hour sessions and 4-hour sessions. We have like 1, 2, 3. Bookending it with a week is long. One day that we have fiber throughout the whole week, that it's a fiber track. But right now, a lot of the feedback has been, please don't do that because I don't want to decide between my wireless track and my fiber track. So we've chosen to kind of bookend that at the very end. The feedback I've gotten, it's been really, really good. People's brains hurt when they're done with the week. But hey, you get best bang for your buck. So it's good that you're able to do that. And then Trina, I'll let you talk about the travel arrangements and what people have been seeing there.
Okay, so as we all know, Vegas, while it is one of the largest convention cities in the world, it's also a big playground, right? So Vegas weekend traffic is very heavy. So therefore, flying into Vegas on a Friday, let's say, or a Saturday, can be more costly than flying in on Sunday. And the opposite effect is true when the week is over. Like, they've got a ton of planes coming into Vegas on Friday and Saturday to drop the weekend travelers off. They like to have them just as full going back out. So by moving Fiber Weekend and creating Fiber Boot Camp, we have created a model where you're likely to get the better airline rates because you're coming in on Sunday and leaving on Thursday or Friday or Saturday. And so you're likely to get the better airline rates just because, you're coming in on the more preferred days. And there is an industry trend which shows going to a model of, we will start seeing, right now you guys pay $109 a night the entire time we have the event going on, and 3 days post and 3 days prior. There is a kind of a trend that we're not going to see those rates on the weekends, pre and post, as much as we have in the past. I'm sure there'll be small hikes to begin with, but for right now, we're good, and we're good through 2023, but eventually we'll get to the spot where those weekends will cost even more. So we're trying to be proactive in saving attendees as much money as we can, because the airlines, we can't control that, right? But we can give you the better travel days, Yeah,
and I think, or you can do what I like to do is have my spouse come out and stay longer on the weekend, kind of as a relaxing after the show, and then come back. That's worked out well. She came out last year, and she's coming out again this year. So I think one other thing I'd like to bring up just very quickly, Trina mentions industry trends and everything. Just like we go to this conference to learn about our wireless industry, Trina goes to conferences to learn about hosting events and what's the best days to do things and what is food, and kind of like she mentioned, the hot button was people scamming your attendee list. So I think it's great that we have someone who isn't just, well, I know what I know, I've been doing this for a long time. She goes to these conferences to learn just like we do. And it's great to see that she brings back some best practices. We work some of them into the shows, and it works great. Other ones are like, that didn't work as well. Let's change. We're always looking to try to make the shows as best we can.
So while you guys have your wireless association, while you have WISPA, I have my own association. And it was interesting, at a recent conference, there was the call to action for all the planners, because there is currently a bill in the House and the Senate to try to address these room scammers and, try to have larger penalties in place and some sort of recourse for the planner, So it was interesting to see a little bit of what we do on the regular come back at me at my own association session.
Yeah. Now, Trina, did you volunteer to speak at your association? Have you gotten up there on the stage yet for that one, or just only for us?
So, Nathan, you and I both know, and everyone else may not know, but I complain about it a lot. So I'm pretty confident that most people know that I would love to stab Nathan in the eye for making me go up on stage. So, no, I have not volunteered to speak at any of my association panels. I do, however, force myself to be very active from the audience.
Yes, well, very good. Very good. We appreciate you gracing us with your presence up on the stage.
So I have a question for for Nathan first off. I guess, can you run through the events, the current agenda, basically giving everybody what time, if they're really interested in getting as much out of the show as possible, can you run through, hey, you're going to need to really start at 8 a.m., or maybe you might need to get up at 7 a.m. to get breakfast if that's what you want to do. And then, go through, we're going to have this particular activity, then we're going to have these sessions, and you can go to any one of those sessions, that type of thing. Can you give us a run-through for the week?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll try not to go
Nathan, if you want to handle sessions, I would love to handle food when you're done.
Yes, that was my next question. Yeah.
So Trina and I, we've been doing this. Trina, what are we on? Or 12?
This is year 7, show number 13 for me, 14 for you.
Yeah, so what's awesome about Trina and I working on this is she thinks I have the better job, and I think she has the better job. So we both work perfect because we both take care of what we like to do and everything. So if you want to get the most out of WISPAPALOOZA, try to come well rested. Get out of your shell and be willing to talk to people. I have meetings throughout the whole show. I don't like to miss sessions and don't like to miss the expo hall. So my meetings, I start in the morning during breakfast. I have a quick lunch meeting, and then I have night meetings as well. So it's kind of that meeting people is really good. But if you want to get the most out of the show, I would come in on a Sunday night. That way you're ready to go for the Monday morning. They start at 9 a.m. We have 2 sessions going on. We'll have 4 sessions going on concurrently, but we have a 9 to noon and then a 1 to 5 session where we're going to cover things like CBRS, starting a WISP 101. We're going to have different people from different areas actually talking about what you need to do to get your WISP up and running. We're going to talk about traction. I know a lot of you have heard me talk about traction for years and years and years. We actually have a 3-hour workshop where you're going to come out of that workshop already starting down that traction process. Advanced network design, advanced RF design, finance. These are all major deep dive things that I think Master Monday is a great way to start your show. We then have a couple activities that evening, different vendors putting on different things. But Tuesday morning is the main kickoff for our actual WISPAPALOOZA. And that's an important one. We kind of do the welcome. We do opening remarks. We have vendor introductions, sponsor introductions. And then we do the state of the WISPA. And this is where in the past the president of the board has done it. Now we'll have Claude Aiken, our new CEO and president. He'll give the state of the WISPA address. What is WISPA doing for you? What are some of the challenges we're facing? What are some of the wins we've gotten? Kind of how we're set up on what we have. And then we'll take a little break, and then what's near and dear to my heart is speed dating. It is exactly what it sounds like, speed dating. I force you guys all to talk to each other, and then I get you to stand up and move to another table and talk. And really, I can remember the first year, I didn't even put a description of what it was. It was just speed dating ? And everybody's like, what in the world? I'm going to have to show up just to see what that is. And that was how I got them in the door. And then after that, now people say that that's the highlight. And I really encourage vendors to go to that too. I'm surprised at the number of vendors that don't go to that. This is your prime opportunity not to sell them around the table, but to get to know your customers and people in our industry. So I would highly encourage vendors to be there, operators, everybody go to speed dating. We have a lot of fun with it. It's not painful, I promise. And then we have Expo Hall and lunchtime. So Trina's going to talk about the food. But basically from 12:30 to 2:45 every day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have Expo Hall time. And you're right.
12:30 to 3, Nathan.
Sorry?
12:30 to 3.
Ends at 3. Sorry, I'm looking at the looking at it a little bit wrong. But so we have a lot of time for you to talk. But as Trina and Dennis already mentioned, there's so many vendors to talk to. I like to make it a job where my job is to go around and talk to every vendor. And you say, well, but I'm not deploying that. I don't need to. Well, I don't know when I'm going to need the tool that they offer or the expertise they have. So I make it a point to go around and talk to everyone I possibly can. And then like 2 years later, I might need a solution for something. Like, hey, wait, I remember talking to somebody about that. So I like to do that. We then go into normal sessions. So we have 2 sessions, 2 sets of sessions on the Tuesday, and then we have our exhibit hall reception. So that's where we'll open up again the exhibit hall. You'll be able to spend more time with the vendors. Or sorry, that's our vendor hall time. Sorry, not reception. Reception's the next day.
Correct.
And then we'll have the annual awards
ceremony
that we have, and I'll let Trina talk a little bit more about that. And then going on to Wednesday and Thursday, sessions start at the same time. So they start at 8 o'clock in the morning. And that way you can, I'd have a meeting beforehand. I'd get to all the sessions. Of course, I'm a little biased. I hate missing sessions because there's so much good information to pick up. And all of the sessions are on the WISPA website. So I won't go into detail and hit all of them, but they're all up there. Great descriptions of what you're going to learn. We then have a keynote that starts at, make sure I'm reading my numbers here right, 11:45. So it starts at 11:45. We have a keynote on the Wednesday and on the Thursday. Another one I will touch on, we haven't ever had this before, is we actually have an MDU track, a multi-dwelling units. It's an MDU track. We've partnered up with another association that does MDUs, and they've actually put together the agenda. So there'll be every day on Wednesday, there'll be a session on MDUs and how to get into MDUs, how to provide service, what are some of their pain points. They're all on the website as well. So I would highly recommend that you look into those, because I know a lot of us operators are getting into the MDU space. And then that night we have the exhibit hall reception, and then we have the WISPAC event, and then we go on to Thursday. Again, they start at 8. Same keynote time, same exhibit hall, and then we have one more session, and then we kind of have our official close, if you will. That'll be where we do the giveaways, and we do the auction style, where if people are willing to admit, the most expensive piece of equipment they've dropped off a tower, or the people who can run up to the front the fastest to get T-shirts. We have a lot of fun with that. And then the next day we have 3 sessions on fiber. They do start a little bit later. We give people a little bit more of a chance to recover from that. And then we do those 3 sessions. We then have lunch and a brief closing, and you can get out of there on Friday, or you can stay and hang out with a couple of us that are staying over the weekend. So that's kind of the session or the schedule in a nutshell. It is jam packed, and I would highly recommend you do exactly what Dennis said with the vendors, that you kind of plan out your trip. I would look at all the sessions. I make all my employees go. We pick who's going to what sessions. And I want every session to be attended by an employee. I don't want us to be all in one session, because that means we're all going to learn the same thing. So we spread it out as best we can. And it is a job while you're there, but it's a lot of fun too. You get to meet a lot of people. So, and then Trina, you're way better talking about the food and when everything's coming. So I'll let you kind of tackle that part.
Okay, so Master Monday and Fiber Friday, their food program is pretty much the same as it has been, or as it was last year. They're going to have some coffee and, like maybe a Danish or something in the morning, and then they'll get a lunch in the afternoon. So Tuesday morning, as always at every conference we have, is the only morning that we feed you breakfast, okay? However, I think everybody's kind of becoming used to our snack stands where you redeem your little tickets for your sodas or snacks or whatever. There will be at those snack stands, I believe one day last year they did breakfast sandwiches, and the other day they did breakfast burritos, something that you can grab and take into the session with you. So those will be available for purchase on Wednesday and Thursday mornings at the concession stands. So then for lunch, if there's any vendors listening, and for Dennis, so the exhibit hall opens at 12:30. So the exhibitor's lunch will be rolled out in the exhibit hall at 11:30. giving all of them a chance to eat while not having to talk to a customer at the same time. So they'll all get that. And then the attendees lunch will, they'll just restock the same stations or whatever, and it'll be in there at 12:30 waiting for them. They tend to leave the food out a little longer because they know that you guys are off talking to people, but they will start collapsing stations down as we are running out of food. I do order a specific amount of food for a specific number of people. So as, the number of, let's say, hamburgers we have, if we have 3 stations of hamburgers, we're going to start reducing them down to 2 and 1. So the later you eat, it might be a little bit more of a scavenger hunt for your lunch, but it will be there. So Tuesday evening is probably the hot button issue of the moment amongst WISPAPALOOZA attendees. So we have tried a lot of iterations of our annual award ceremony over the years. We've tried full-on plated dinners. We've tried dinner buffets, light appetizer receptions. Last year we went back to the dinner format. Here's the problem. We throw away a lot of food because people don't show up. The annual awards ceremony, if we serve even a buffet dinner, you need to count $175 to $200 a head that walks in that door. And I have to do a voodoo guess as to who's going to be there. Last year, we had 1,847 people registered. My voodoo guess was 1,400. I threw away 350 plates of food because only a little over 1,000 showed up. To me, that is irresponsible, an irresponsible spend of the association's money. So I attempted this year to, for lack of a better way to put it, give people some skin in the game by asking them to pay $30 of their $200 dinner. I will be honest, I am not sure if it is people don't want to pay the $30. If it is, we realize that our software is complicated. We are on the hunt for new software. I don't know if it's a registration issue, a lack of understanding issue, or they just don't want to pay the $30. So I have elected there was 121 people are all that registered for the annual award ceremony. Those 121 people will be getting their $30 refunded to them. We will turn the annual award ceremony back into a reception-style event. It will be heavy appetizers. You guys never leave an event I do hungry, okay? Nope. There'll be possibly carving stations. I don't have the whole menu planned out yet, but there will be food. You will not leave hungry, and you will still have your drinks, okay? We do have a sponsor for this year's ceremony. So there will be a DJ for your listening entertainment after the stuff is over, after the awards are over. There will be a photo booth so everybody can, get their picture taken. And we will have some prizes that we're giving away at the end. I don't want to give away too much about what the prizes are, but they're not industry stuff. They're fun tech toys. Okay. So everybody should have a great time at that. So if you speak to people, if you see somebody talking about it on Facebook or on the members list, everybody's getting their money back, and it will be a reception style event.
Yeah, and okay. I think, when we compare what the dinner plate is versus the reception plate, really the only difference I saw was the size of the plate they gave you. And really the food was just as good. The carving stations, whether we can do that or not, we'll see. But it was just, there wasn't a lot different between it. But there's a huge price. And I think, Trina, you hit the nail on the head that it's not a good spend of our money. We are out here trying to do the best we can for WISPs, and we need to be smart. We had that discussion 2 years ago about the cost of the soda. And we asked them how much they thought it costs for all the soda we would give out during the different sessions or in between the sessions. And people were throwing out $5,000, $10,000, and then somebody threw out like $30,000. Everybody laughed. And then Trina, what was the final number? Close to that was 150.
$221,000 for 3 days.
$221,000 for soda between your sessions. So that puts it in a little bit more of a perspective. And if you take 1,000 people times 200, oh my goodness, that while it's nice to have some of that stuff, and I think our show provides way more food and everything than most shows I go to, I think it's smart that we carefully plan what we're doing and make the right decision. So
even with only doing purchases for 1,400 people last year, the bill was well above the $150,000 range for the dinner. So, all right.
Well,
so on to when. Go ahead.
Yeah, the big thing on that is, whenever we went through the ticketing system, you got a ticket, but we didn't really get charged unless they used the ticket, correct?
No, that is not true.
Oh.
I have to tell them, there's not 63 chefs back there who can whip out 400 more steak and chicken dinners because 400 more people walk in the door. I have to give them a number.
Yeah, I'm talking about the snack station.
Oh, the snack station.
Yeah.
Correct. We do not pay for a snack or a soda unless they redeem the ticket. Yes, this is true.
And that's a big cost savings to WISPA, because now, you do have to go up there and you have to take your ticket and you say, I want a water, I want a soda, or something like that. But the difference is, instead of ordering soda for 1,500 people, we just give tickets and we only pay for the ones that actually are redeemed, which, of course,
right.
makes
And
sense.
I'm also able to offer a larger variety of stuff for you to drink.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants a soda. They want a bottled iced tea or a sports drink or something. I have a much wider variety of things I can offer you.
Are you saying there's something wrong with only offering Mountain Dew? I don't know.
Yes, that is the problem.
Mountain Dew and cookies. That's only snacks we need. Everybody said they voted on it at WISPA America a couple years ago.
Look, I have to specifically tell the hotel to order you Mountain Dew, which, by the way, yes, I did, and you will have your cookies. It's interesting that you did bring up water, Dennis. So we started this last show in Birmingham. So everyone who is registered and attends will receive a water bottle. They'll get that. It's like a 26-ounce metal double-walled water bottle that doesn't sweat. Okay. There will not be any bottled water at the concession stands. There will be water bubblers throughout the convention space for you to fill your water bottle. I'm trying to be a little bit greener and a little more cost effective, So.
Yeah, I had that last year and I used the heck out of it.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have another one to use. So on Wednesday morning, you're going to want to get your breakfast, grab a sandwich or a burrito or whatever. The same process follows for lunch as Tuesday. And then the exhibit hall reception, you guys are going to get beer and pizza again, just like you do every year. You seem to enjoy it, so there you go. Thursday morning, same process for breakfast as Wednesday, and Thursday lunch is the same. I would like to take a moment, though, to talk about Thursday's keynote. So his name is Matt Havens, and we have a large age gap in a lot of ways in our industry. We have a lot of really younger folks who are really tech smart, and a lot of us older people who are business smart or more experienced or whatever. And he has a really interesting, funny, and engaging presentation about how to work with people outside your generation and how to understand them. It's a really good presentation.
Yeah, I think the thing to hit on that is funny, right? I mean, he's funny. I think people are going to be just laughing, and it's going to be a good way to represent something in our industry that may not be a problem in your company, but you may run across at other places. So I think it's going to be a great keynote to have, and have him be able to get us all laughing about the topic and examples and everything.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I'm going to check and make sure that there is nothing on our chat. I don't think there is. Nope, there is not. Steve, you got any other things that we need to cover?
Nathan, you mentioned a tract about MDUs. What other things on the agenda are new that seemed exciting to you?
That are new. So we have our traditional regulatory, tech, finance, marketing, HR, but we added advanced tech. So we actually have 4 sessions, if not 5 sessions, on advanced technical options, and we did that because we knew that our industry is evolving, and we need to cover those. One of the examples is monitoring more than just up and down. Right? We've had monitoring ones before, but it was mostly focused on how do you tell something. This session is going to go into much more detail about it's not just good enough anymore to know a device is up or down. I want to know frame utilization. I want to know what the CPU is running at. I want to know all these different things. Am I getting close to a threshold? So that's what that session is going to talk about. We also have NOC and data center design. We have WISP now that are pushing multiple 10 gig connections out to the internet. And that takes some planning and some design, so we've got a session on that as well. And then the other one we have, which we've kind of done, but I want to definitely talk about them a little bit, is we have ABCs of WISP. So starting a WISP, you're running a business first, a network second, right? Because for the longest time, our industry, we were running networks first and just had to do this little business thing. Now that WISP are coming into the market, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of tech to learn, and there's a lot of stuff to really understand, but we have a lot of owners that don't come from the tech side anymore. They come from a business side. So we want to help them understand and help people more from the old school. I'm a network guy. Here's some of the business things you have to learn. We also have scaling a WISP from 0 to 1,500. So a little bit of a different challenge. We've done other ABCs of starting a WISP and those things, but we're going to take care of the WISP 101 as a Master Monday, and then try to cover some of that scaling a WISP 0 to 1,500. There's a lot of things have changed in our industry. It's a lot easier to start a WISP now, but there's a lot more things that people need to be thinking about. So those are some of the things I think I'd love to hit on. We have still a couple finance ones. Those seem to be growing every year. We have more and more people. And what we did with all of our sessions, we did the best we could. We have regulatory, tech, and business throughout the entire week. But if you have a finance person and you only want to send them on the Thursday when finance is, we put all the finance ones on Thursday. If you have a marketing person, you only want to send them on part of Wednesday and the rest of Thursday, you can send them for just that. So we're really trying to make it where, yes, I would love you to come all day, or all week, but if you can only make it for a day, we've tried to set it up to where you can facilitate that within our session, within our show. You have different segments, and I know we always get the complaint. You have so many good sessions going on, 6 at once if you count our vendor spotlights. I can't go to them all, and we understand. My answer to that is bring more people, or come to all the shows, because we do repeat some of them because we know that you can't make it to all of them, and we do try to set them up a little bit where maybe if we know one session is going to be very, very highly attended, we don't put 2 really hot sessions next to each other. Now, we've set this agenda months and months and months before the show, so it could be that 2 topics end up being a hot topic right before the show and we can't do anything about that. But there is a little bit of method to our madness as to why things are set up the way they are, and we do the best we can. We won't get it right 100%, but I would always recommend that you bring more people. I like that one the most. It's amazing when you bring somebody that hasn't ever been to a show, that walks around the show and they're like, oh my. And even if they're like a support person for you or an installer, they learn so much more about our industry just by talking to others and going into parts and sessions that they didn't even know were a problem or existed. And learning so much. So I would recommend you bring more people for sure.
And you mentioned vendor spotlights. Has that will there be a lot more of those at this show since the vendor count has grown so much?
Yes, Trina, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we've sold all the vendor spotlights, right? Oh, I think you're muted.
Sorry.
Yep.
We have sold all the vendor spotlights, but there was no more available than there was last year. We have 1 session track to offer. That's it. And we want to keep it on the same session break times as all of the other sessions. People have suggested making them a half an hour. I don't want people swapping sessions in the middle because of a vendor session. So we do have a limited number. So it will be the same number as last year.
Yeah, and I think what I've seen, we've been doing vendor spotlights now for almost 2 or 3 years now, and what I've seen change is it used to be they would stand up there with their sales guy and their PowerPoint presentation and then pitch you, because that's kind of what it was supposed to be. They're not allowed to sell in our sessions when they're on a panel, but this one they're allowed to do whatever they want. They bought that time. They can do a sales pitch. But what I've seen over time is that they're doing less and less sales pitches and more education about how to use their product, what works well. This is where we work really well. This is where we don't. So I've been very happy to see that they're getting more traction on that. I always tell them when there are vendor sessions is, wow us with your knowledge, and we'll come find you to want to buy product from you. Don't wow us, trying to sell us, because then we won't believe you. So always try to wow us with your knowledge, and we'll want to buy from you.
There you go. I actually had one for Trina. It is not a question. It's not a question from anybody, but previously we had several sessions that got recorded, and then we put them in. We put them on YouTube, on the WISPA page, etc. Is that going to occur this time? What's up with that? How's that?
Yeah, we still will have the recorded sessions. If you look down the agenda where the rooms are listed, everything that is listed in the Palma, PALMA room, on Tuesday and Wednesday will be recorded.
There you go.
So now sometimes we'll record a session and then deem it not appropriate for our YouTube channel, or we'll get someone on there who wasn't aware before we got there that his session was going to be recorded and doesn't want his information to be made massively public. So our intent is to post all 6 of these sessions. Doesn't mean that it will for sure happen, but our intent is to post all 6 of those and the State of WISPA address.
There we go. All righty. Steve, anything else?
Can you give us the number of vendors and how many new vendors are going to be there?
Yeah, so I had Gary count for me last night. There's not an elegant way to count. Last night there was 154 vendors.
Wow.
And he sent me a list of the new vendors. Where did it go? That's not Gary's folder. That's Will's. So currently we have 45 first-time vendors, and he has labeled first-time vendors. They have not been at the show since 2014, because that was the easy data for him to go back through and check. Mm-hmm. So he's got 45. Now, mind you, 1 or 2 of those may have been companies that were in booths with other people, and like FISPA has a booth this year. I don't know if that's really new to anybody. We do have this really wonky company called Whisper University. I don't know who they are. And there are a couple that, as I look down the list, have in the past partnered up with another company in a booth. But for the most part, they are new to us vendors.
There you go.
Excellent. And then lastly, how many people have registered?
Okay, so when I started I'm kind of making my point about the craziness of this week in my world. So when we started this conversation, there was 1,194 people registered. There are now 1,208. Now, with that, and I know when I tell you that I expect there to be 2,000 people in the room, you think, oh my gosh, that she's wrong. No, she's not. So that is pacing at 116.6% of last year. So, and I will say that we typically have a couple weeks in July and most of August where we pace somewhere around 120 to 125%. And then towards the end of August, it tanks, right? It just goes down because people are trying, either they have more time in the summer or whatever, they're they're going. And we typically by now are somewhere in the 106 to 108% of the previous year. We have, for the last 3 years, ended up somewhere between 112 and 116 at the end of the show. But our pacing numbers are not falling. We're still at 116 now, and we have, according to, so all of my stuff goes from when I arrive at the hotel, right? All the stuff I get from the room block and stuff. For everyone else, WISPAPALOOZA proper starts in 25 days and 22 hours. For me, I leave in 22 days. 22 days is when I arrive. So 3 weeks. And again, I cannot stress to you enough that the room block goes away after Friday. Yep. We are 90% of our room block is gone. We do have days that are tightening up. If you want to be there Saturday before, we're running short on rooms. So far, they've allowed us to overbook on those rooms, overbook what we're contracted, and to try to make space for everybody. But at a certain point, they'll shut it off. And I hate to see people pay $200-300 a night for a room somebody else paid $105 for. So again, book your room, and the price for the tickets goes up on Saturday as well. So
Trina, I have one question for you myself. Out of all those people that have registered, anyone from Rhode Island?
Nathan, between Netflix and Rhode Island, I just do not know what to do
we
with
don't have
you.
anybody from. So you don't have to look it up.
I can't actually tell on the attendee list well, but I know you have your little reports you run in the background.
That's right.
One day you'll get a person from Rhode Island.
That's right.
Maybe you'll get someone from Rhode Island who works for Netflix to come and speak.
Hey,
two birds, one stone.
Mic drop moment if we can do that.
All righty. We do not have any other questions. Steve, unless there's anything else, I guess we can wrap it up.
No, I think it's been a great show. Thank you for telling us all about the show coming up in, what'd you say, 25 days?
Yep.
25 days, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing you all there, and can't wait for the show. It's always a humdinger, and it always, like you said, I come away with a headache of all the knowledge that is in my mind.
Yep.
Well, I want to thank Nathan and Trina for being on the show today. If there's anything else, Dennis, if you want to wrap us up, we will talk to you guys next week where we have Tausas Alexikou with RF Elements on the show, talking about their new products that they've got coming out for ISPs.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to ISP Radio. We hope you've gained new insights and additional wisdom in our industry as well as your business. Please remember to visit our show sponsors via the links on ispradio.com. If you're interested in becoming a show sponsor, contact us at sales@ispradio.com. Now go out there and push those packets as fast as you can. Good luck and Godspeed.